century, as Europe stood on the brink of radical change, a group of young artists hurled color onto canvas like thunderbolts. At the center of this storm was Henri Matisse, the spiritual leader of Fauvism. They were called les Fauves, the wild beasts, for good reason. Today, we're diving deep into Matisse's Fauvist period, a brief but seismic shift in modern art. We'll explore what made this movement so radical, how Matisse challenged every rule of painting, and why this short-lived explosion of color changed the trajectory of art forever. Context: the birth of Fauvism. Fauvism emerged in France around 1905 during a time of profound artistic experimentation. Post-Impressionism had already shaken the foundations of realism. Artists like Van Gogh and Gauguin had begun to distort color for emotional effect. But Matisse and his contemporaries took it further. At the 1905 Salon d'Automne, viewers were stunned, even outraged, by what they saw. One critic, Louis Vaxilis, coined the term Fauves after seeing a Renaissance-style sculpture surrounded by these violently colored paintings. He said, "Donatello among the wild beasts." The name stuck, but what were these artists doing? In essence, they were liberating color from reality. Section 2. Formal elements: color, form, and expression. Matisse's Fauvist work was not about representation. It was about sensation. Take Woman with a Hat, 1905. A portrait of Matisse's wife, Emile. Her face is a kaleidoscopic of green, orange, purple, entirely unnatural. But somehow it feels emotionally accurate. The color is not descriptive, it's expressive. Lines are bold and spontaneous, often painted in thick, black contours. There is little to no shading or modeling of form. Instead, shapes are flattened and perspective is abandoned. Look at the open window, 1905, a view from Matisse's studio in Collier. The Mediterranean Sea is a riot of pinks, oranges, and blues. Boats float in a harbor made of pure hue, not naturalistic but vibrant with life. This was not a rejection of beauty. It was an expansion of it. Matisse once said, What I dream of is an art of balance, of purity and sincerity." In Fauvism, color itself became the language of joy and inner truth. Section 3. Influences. Where did Fauvism come from? Fauvism didn't emerge in a vacuum. Matisse drew heavily from post-impressionists like Cezanne, who simplified form into geometry. He also admired the emotional power of Van Gogh's brushwork and the decorative flatness of Gauguin's Tahitian paintings. But beyond Europe, Matisse was deeply inspired by non-Western art. African masks, Islamic tiles, and Japanese print all influenced his use of abstraction, symmetry, and stylization. His trip to North Africa in 1906 was pivotal. The light, the color, the ornamental design of Islamic architecture, it all entered his visual vocabulary. Section 4. Reception and controversy. At the time, Fauvism was considered outrageous. Critics dismissed it as childish, unfinished, or even offensive. But collectors like Gertrude Stein and the Russian patron Sergei Shukin saw its potential. Still, Fauvism was short-lived. By 1908, many Fauves, including André Derain and Maurice de Vlaminck, had moved toward more structured or cubist styles. But Matisse continued to evolve in his own direction, increasingly focused on balance, harmony, and line. Section 5. Legacy. What did Matisse leave behind? The Fauvist period only lasted about 3 years, but its legacy is enormous. Matisse opened the door to pure abstraction. He showed that color need not describe the world. It could construct its own world. His ideas paved the way for Expressionism, Abstract Expressionism, and color field painting. Artists like Rothko, Diebenkorn, even the pop artists, owe a debt to this radical use of color as feeling. And Matisse himself, he never stopped innovating, from his cutout in later life to his iconic Red Studio. He remained committed to distilling emotion into color and form. Fauvism was never meant to last. It was a detonation, but that explosion still echoes through modern art. As Matisse once said, creativity takes courage. And in his Fauvist period, courage meant letting color speak loudly, wildly, and with joy.